sharing the light and the love and the progress that I'm making on my journey, as well as sharing what's happening with some of the students that are in my new course titled Singularity, Transcending the Duality of Your Ego. And it's certainly been a journey, hasn't it, Maribel?
It definitely has. Oh, my God. Well, we started in February, but I think everyone was half-assing the class. But now we've gotten into serious mode since it's their last month here. And we had to.
Yes.
We literally had to.
So the course was designed and is still designed as an accelerated course in Transcending the Ego, where you can literally finish it in 27 days and turn in your final and literally move out of the duality and into oneness with your higher self or your I am presence. But as Maribel mentioned, but you know what, at the end of the day, there was a huge learning curve with you guys literally doing the course 3 times.
Yes.
And the third time is the charm.
That's the charm.
But it was also a process of identifying all of the things that were in the way of you moving into alignment with your higher self. So today we're going to be talking about moving from being a hot mess to whole, perfect, and complete. And in the process, we'll talk specifically about how to move out of false pride, greed, gluttony, lust, and into love and self-respect. And this process of moving into discipline and completing whatever it is you start. And so I asked Maribel Gomez to come back on the show because she's a model student for quitting, dropping out, procrastinating, being a hot mess. And Maribel, I have to say, you were the last one that I thought would turn the corner faster than the rest of the people.
That's true.
Because you were totally just playing around.
I was.
And quitting everything that you did.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to cover being in the world, but not of it. So I thought we'd start out right quick with the situation with Trump bombing Syria. And you know, that's a very serious situation. And what I found very, very heartening was the reaction of the students in the course, because we have a WhatsApp group for the students in the course, and whatever is going on or whatever's on their mind, they share it in a group conversation. And when I looked at the conversation, and one of the students mentioned, oh my goodness, Syria just got bombed. Well, normally we would have all gone into panic and or wrath.
Yes.
Okay, because that was one of your issues, is the anger at all of the injustice and the suffering and the war and everything going on in the world. And then now all of a sudden, you know, we've got a new president and we've got war on our hands. But I'd like for you to share, because you had a very cogent comment that you made to the whole group based on things that we're learning in the course. So I'd like you to share your comment.
Yeah, well, my main reaction to that was just compassion for the world, for the children over there. And I just told the whole group, let's just, you know, meditate and, you know, shield the whole planet with loving vibrations. Just, you know, the babies, the children, the women especially, like, and everyone, of course.
Yeah, and that's something that I was very proud of, because one of the visualizations that I had just recorded and sent out to the group had to do with, first of all, filling up your own heart with love and light, and we used the pink ray to symbolize love, and filling up your heart and then your aura with that light. And then bringing in the blue light, which is the first ray, which represents the will of God, and then putting a reflective shield around that. And the process is doing that every day for yourself. And then now extending it to everyone in your circle of influence, you know, visualizing the same protective, loving reflective bubble around them, and then extending it around the entire planet. And I think at this point in our juncture, I've said this before, the American people and all people around the world, they get the kind of leaders that they deserve. And it's unfortunate that so many Americans just don't want to be at peace. They're still at this place where bomb people, kill people, and they're not at this level of consciousness where they understand that you can bomb the world to pieces, P-I-E-C-E-S, but you can never bomb the world into peace, P-E-A-C-E. And I think that instead of us reacting in wrath and anger, if we react with love and getting our lesson and passing the test, then we hold a higher vibration for the planet. And that's way more constructive. And I know a lot of people out there will say, well, that's very passive. You're not really doing anything. But we know from the Heart Math Institute and from studies that have been done that when people visualize and meditate on peace and lowering the crime rate, that it actually happens. And we also know from other studies with astronauts and athletes that the mind does not know the difference between something that we visualize and think about in our mind and something that's really happening outside of us. So we're very, very powerful creators. And that's something that, we've talked about before with you on the show, how powerful you are in terms of manifesting. And share that comment that you made about the negative aspect of your manifesting and how we could do something different with that.
Yeah, when I realized that I was able to manifest and so quickly, I'm like, oh my God, like just how we are programmed to just be negative all the time. And, and now I realize like, wow, I could just use my manifestations in order to do good for the world and to do good for myself primarily, because it starts with the individual and then expands.
What a concept, right? Okay. And look at you now. I mean, just glowing and beautiful. You've lost all this weight. Your skin was just on fire.
A mess.
With eczema, full of candida, and whining and crying and complaining and being a victim, procrastinating. Oh my goodness.
What a difference now. It's like, no, I'm no longer a victim, and I have made the change. And boy, what a change, because I'm the one that benefits from it. Everyone can just hear me and be sorry for me, but what is that going to solve?
Well, and let's talk about that, because actually you were doing it because there was a benefit. You would not have been doing that for years, ever since I've known you, if there was not a payoff. So what was the payoff for you in being a victim?
I just wanted to have sympathy and
attention, right?
Attention and just caring. Like, even though I felt bad,
even if it was negative, right?
Even if it was negative,
just give me attention, poor me.
Yes, and I'm like, how pathetic. Once I realized, and you told me like, Maribel, what are you gonna do once I'm gone? I was like, oh my. I'm like, I really do need to make the change then, because I mean, who's gonna be there for me? No one.
But also, I also saw that the most loving thing I could do for you and so many of the students in the course and my own children was to stop being there all the time. And I ended up calling myself the cleanup woman, cleaning up your chaos and your craziness and being, literally, you guys would show up whenever you had created a hot mess out of something. Oh, help me. And what was so funny about you was you had lost the weight, you had gotten the flare-ups all under control back last year, and then as soon as you started feeling better and looking better, what did you do?
Oh my goodness, I went back to my old ways and it just all came back to the surface once again. I'm like, oh no, here we go, round 2 or round, I don't know.
Forever. Yes. And so what do you think was the, I think that defining moment was when you came over that day.
Yes, and when I came over to your place and I told you, like, look, Dr. Grant, like, look at how I am. And you're like, really, Maribel? Like, I have no more sympathy for you anymore. Like, you need to make the change or else you're going to be left on your own once I'm gone. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right, Dr. Grant. And I'm glad we had that discussion because I did have some trauma to heal. And when you told me that you were going to be gone, I think that was, the turning point for me. Like, I really do need to make the change and for good. Like, not just go back and then forth and back and forth again. So.
Well, and so tough love does work. I've been working with parents on this same concept of you're not doing your children any favor by not having them experience the consequences of bad behavior because they'll end up hurting themselves and hurting other people. And then how good can you feel about yourself as a parent? And for me, how good can I feel about myself as a teacher if I'm seeing this pattern and then not holding you accountable for the fact that you're looking at me and going, Dr. Grant, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I'm going, girl, you got the tools.
Yes.
You've done it already.
Exactly.
Just stick with it. And I think that there is this tendency in all of us to feel like, once you've mastered something and you've gotten to a certain level, well, I can quit doing all the good things that it's like, let's throw all the good habits out of the window and let's go right back to the bad habits. Now, is that not utter insanity?
Yeah, it is. But everyone does it, though.
And just because they do it, that doesn't mean we need to keep doing it, right?
Right, exactly.
Because, at the end of the day, we all know better.
Exactly, we do.
Come on.
We're grown-ups here.
And I think it's, and the other important thing that I really had to institute within the class and for the group was everybody holding each other accountable. Yeah. How did that work for you in terms of the group holding you accountable and individuals stepping forward and saying, I have really been out of alignment and out of integrity with myself?
Yeah, I think when everyone did that in the group, it's very open and it's like, wow, like I'm not the only one going through this. So it's kind of helping like each other out when you are truthful and just honest and just being open about it because everyone's there to help each other in the group.
And what a concept,
yeah.
right?
Yes. It's like we're not pretending or hiding like, oh, I have this problem, but I just don't want to like admit it and say it. It's like, no, we're all dealing with the same issues here. Exactly.
Yeah. We're all human. We're going through the human experience, and it is universal. And I was looking at the group and going, oh my goodness, okay, this is a course in transcending the duality of the ego, and we've got a group of out of control egos pretending like, ooh, I'm so evolved. Ooh, I'm so spiritual. And the whole process was just educating the ego, intellectualizing the ego.
Spiritualizing.
And spiritualizing the ego. Whoa. Okay, so Maribel, we're going to move right into how we self-medicate on food, on sex, on any kind of excess. And how that affects your self-worth and your ability to love yourself and your self-esteem. So let's do a little bit about your journey because you've had issues with weight.
Yeah.
Being the, what would you call yourself, chunky?
Chunky,
the chunky girl.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I had always been chunky like most of my life. But I didn't know that it was from an excess of also candida infestation that I've had since I was born. It had just accumulated and gotten out of control. But one thing that I did struggle with a lot, and I think everyone can relate to this, especially the young generation, is lust. And how...
And greed.
And greed, of
gluttony.
course.
Gluttony.
Yeah, gluttony.
Yeah.
And how we just try to fill in this void no matter what. And in the process, what you're doing is you're disrespecting yourself and just degrading your body. And I was doing this for so many years, but my issue was just substituting it for love, like with, with all my exes that I've had, but they were very destructive, karmic relationships. And I think I knew that, but I just wanted someone to be there with me all the time. It didn't matter if we didn't love each other. That's how pathetic it was.
And relationships that ended up being physically abusive and emotionally abusive.
Oh, yeah, definitely, on an emotional and spiritual level. And this course has definitely helped me with that. And I think the breakthrough for me was definitely my last relationship that I was in when it got physical, and I had literally had to break that relationship. And after that, I started realizing, like, wow, like, how low have I come? Like, I cannot believe that I have been, disrespecting my body and just my essence and my being.
But not only that, one of the points, a real turning point for you was when... was you not wanting to hold the ex accountable for violence and destruction of property, and letting him off the hook,
right?
Even though you were aware that he had done really violent and vile things to other women.
Exactly.
So talk about that journey, because there are a lot of women out there who feel like, you know what, I'm just going to let it go and let it all kind of take its course. But at the end of the day, when you read the Prophet and Khalil Gibran is talking about crime and punishment, he also talks about how the people who are really loving and caring, when there's a stumbling block, or stone in the way, they will stop and take the time to remove that so that another person who is coming after them will not trip and fall over it. So how did that relate to you doing something different this time? Yeah,
my main issue has always been a lack of talking and communicating ever since I was a child. So I think in this lifetime, I had to learn how to speak up. And that was when I, talked to you and I said, okay, I do need to talk and do something about it. So that's when I, filed a restraining order and did all the paperwork that I had to do, because I'm like, it can't stay like this. And especially that there's evidence left over, and I can actually,
So how did you feel during the process and then afterwards?
Oh my! So when I was doing the whole paperwork at the courthouse and everything, my ego was just saying, "What are you doing? You should feel guilty. Like, you're not like this, like, you should feel so guilty and ashamed of yourself for doing this to another person." So I felt really guilty that night. But then as the days went by, I felt very liberated. And I was like, wow, this was the right thing to do. And that's when I kind of freed myself. That was when I learned to spread my wings and be like, wow, like I had to hold him accountable for it. But at the same time, it was a learning experience for me.
And what did you learn from it?
Well, definitely speak up and to love yourself, because my main problem was that I didn't love myself. And
enough to stand up for yourself?
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, enough to stand up for myself. And I think the breaking point, too, was when I listened to that song by Whitney Houston, The Greatest Love of All. Like, there's no one that can fill in that void but your higher self and your I am presence.
I remember when that song came out, oh my goodness, even before Whitney Houston recorded it, I heard it sung by someone else, and I thought, oh my, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
And that's what every child should be taught from grade school. And it's incredible how we miss that message, because especially as women, we're taught to forget about ourselves and just take care of everybody else and put everybody else first. And it's a real difficult concept to do you, and to recognize that if everything goes well with you, you're going to have more love, more time, more energy for everybody else. But if you're running yourself ragged, taking care of everybody else, and then once you're exhausted, you have no energy for you, then you get sick and you move into resentment, and then you're no good to anybody. So if you take care of yourself first, that is the best gift that you can give to the people who love you because, as you said, your parents are seeing the change in you, and they don't know what to think.
Right. They're just watching diligently, just, observing me. But yeah, no, they definitely have seen the changes in me when it comes to my diet, just everything, they're like, you're glowing.
No whining and complaining.
Exactly. No, I'm just happy. I'm happy I'm in this journey. I'm excited for it. And they can see it. And they're just watching and being doubtful.
Well, of course. And you can't blame them, Maribel.
No, I
okay,
can't.
because you have crawfished, okay,
Yes.
Gone forward and then gone backwards. And as I said, no one is ever really safe until they accept that good habits have to be reinforced through repetition.
Exactly.
Because repetition is the mother of learning, and you can't just throw good habits, out the window. I like to use a simple analogy of you can't say, oh, well, I brushed my teeth yesterday, so I don't need to brush them today. We don't say that to ourselves.
No.
We don't say, oh, well, I took a shower last week, so I don't need to take one, every day. What's wrong with taking them once a week? It's these good habits that we get into that are just a part of the process.
Yes.
The meditation, the prayers, all of that is something that you guys are being taught to put into your daily routine in order to develop the discipline that is necessary in order for you to feel good about yourself.
Right.
So let's focus on the discipline and learning how to complete things.
Yeah, that was my main issue, that I just didn't know how to just be disciplined with myself. I would always just be creating or instigating, like, oh, I need to get this done, like, oh, my schoolwork, oh, but I need to do my, my class as well, and then my 2 jobs that I have, like, oh, like, I would just be going crazy, but I wouldn't even get anything done.
Yeah.
So that was the pathetic part. I was just complaining but not getting anything done and just feeling sorry for myself and stressing out on top of that. So I think what really helped me get into discipline is by being mindful of doing things like, okay, Maribel, it's not going to help if you stress out. Just be calm and just do it one thing at a time. Plan out your schedule, have an agenda, and that's what I've been doing. I've been listening to the audiobooks. I think that's been helping me a lot, like listening to the audiobooks. Because yes, I bought the books, but it's like if I don't have time, I'm driving, at least I could listen to it while I'm showering, while I'm getting ready, while I'm driving to school or driving to work. Like all of these time frames that I have in between, is like I could be doing that and multitasking and getting the work done.
Well, and obviously you're more auditory than visual. So for those of you who are in school and you're having a hard time just sitting down and reading the words on the page, thank goodness for audibles and audiobooks. Because if you're constantly quitting everything, how does that make you feel about yourself when you're a quitter?
Oh my God. Like for me, like what really, like I guess left me like in heartache was when I worked really, really hard, like at a community college, and to transfer to a really good school. I mean, I was attending UC Davis and I quit.
And doing well.
I was doing well, and then I quit after a year. And when I came back, I felt so bad for doing that. But the thing is I was beating myself down like so much. Like no one else was, saying anything. They're like, okay, well, it happened for a reason, but it was me that was hurting myself. And
but it was a pattern.
It was a pattern.
You starting things and not completing.
Yeah, and even I was even considering again just quitting school. And I just have until December to finish. And I think this class definitely helped me just stick with it and just get it done.
Yeah, so, I remember that point where you were like, oh, I don't know, I'm so stressed out and I can't get this done, and I'm working and I can't do the class, and I was like, man, you're so close,
right? And I'm so close to finishing, and I was like, but I also felt bad because of like my health and everything. But it's like, no, I brought those things upon myself, and I have to own it. And I have to just stop complaining and do something about it. And I think once I started owning like my problems and actually being more organized and more calm and less stressed, like everything has been flowing so much better for me. And I just feel feel so much more at peace, and I'm happier. And yeah, I definitely made the turnaround now. So I'm doing great. Like I feel great.
and here you are in the middle of the semester.
Yes.
And took on this new class and having a job and being in school, and now you're doing well in all of them.
In all areas. And that's the
and
thing.
your health.
And my health primarily, which is the most important thing, because
By putting your health first.
Yeah, putting my health first, because I wasn't even focusing in school because I was just in pain the whole time. Like, my skin flare-ups.
Focus.
I couldn't. I was just in bed. I was depressed. I didn't want to even go out. It was horrible, and I wouldn't even want anyone to experience what I experienced. But thankfully, Dr. Grant, you were there for me, and you gave me the tools in order to take charge of my health and take charge of, my spirituality, because when you have your spirituality, everything just flows better when you put that first.
Well, and in taking personal responsibility,
Yes.
because what you were trying to do was put the responsibility back on me.
Right. And it's like, no, like, I'm the one, like, with the mess. I'm the one that should be taking responsibility. But I'm glad that you were at least there to hear me out about the problem.
Well, absolutely.
Give me advice.
And for me, that's where I can best serve you guys, is just by helping you go within and look at the source of all of the issues and where they came from in your childhood, and showing you the patterns,
Yes.
the big picture, and saying, so now here's the problem, and here's what you can do about it, and here are the tools, but I can't spoon feed you guys and constantly be there every time you go into chaos,
Right.
and you create a mess, and now all of you are going within first.
Yes, and just taking
that's-
responsibility.
And that's
for it.
really beautiful.
Yes, it is definitely beautiful, because it has definitely helped me, like, not rely on someone else. It's like I have to just seek within and see what changes I need to make and make those proper changes.
And what about procrastination? Because you were
my
a major
God.
procrastinator.
Yes.
So how has it helped you being in the moment?
Oh, definitely, it has helped me so much. I think the book by Janet A. Jackson, thank goodness you have.
Oh, yeah, the Mindfulness Meditation Journal.
Meditation Journal.
Yeah, Janet was on the show,
Yeah.
and yeah.
She definitely, like, just put things into perspective for me too, just how looking within yourself, like, I try to do this, like, either in the morning or before I go to bed, just being mindful of your body and how you feel, like, whether it's anxiousness, anger, just feel it, and then just releasing it and letting it go. But yeah, just taking ownership on how you could do anything and being in the moment. And that's a beautiful thing. You could be driving and meditating. You could be doing reading or homework.
And not the regular kind of meditation, but the mindfulness meditation of being in the moment,
Yes.
and paying attention to everything around you.
Around you.
Because we don't want people meditating and falling asleep at the wheel.
That's true. Yeah, and for me, it's like, wow, like, that has brought just so much joy. Just how, like, I take a moment to go outside and just step into the grass and feel the grass, and just listening to the birds, singing and everything. I didn't even take notice of that before. And it's like, wow, all of these things constantly happening around me. And yet here I was complaining and being angry in the morning. And now, no, I wake up and I'm more at peace and I'm more grateful.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And what about the difference now in terms of, one of the students in the class, Robert Wise, said that when you do, whatever you do when you're in the moment, when you're being mindful, well, Thich Nhat Hanh says that everything you do with mindfulness becomes a miracle. And then Robert said that whatever you do when you're in the moment, it's perfect.
Yeah,
because
it
you
is.
don't make mistakes.
No, you don't
when you're
make
in the moment.
mistakes.
So
Yeah.
how has that been for you?
Yeah, and I have realized that too. Like, when I used to be complaining and whining and just being so overwhelmed and stressed out, it's like that wasn't even helping the issue.
Making
at
it
first,
worse.
yeah, it was just making it worse. And I think now that I'm doing things more mindfully and in the moment, I do things definitely, like, better. I listen to what I need to listen, the instructions, and do it better, like my homework, whether it's reading, whatever test that I need to get done. I'm doing it in the moment, and I do it flawlessly. I do it perfect.
Right.
and not stressed. I'm doing it like with joy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the word, isn't it? Joy.
Yes.
When the journey itself, the work itself is no longer work, it's just joy.
Yeah.
That's the way I saw graduate school and postgraduate school. Everything I read, every paper I had to do was just so exciting.
Yeah.
And when you're immersed in it and you're enjoying the journey, wow. It's so miraculous and so beautiful. It's like you never get up and go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Teaching.
You're just waiting for the day, and you just wake up better, like just with joy, and you're looking forward to it. So that makes all the difference than waking up like grumpy and in a bad mood.
I gotta go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I gotta go to school.
Yeah, all these million things to do. And no, when you're in the moment and more organized, you don't see it that way anymore. It's not a burden.
And so can you give them any tips now in terms of you being able to coordinate work and your schoolwork and the classwork? Because the Course in Self-Transcendence, it's a lot of material, isn't it?
It is a lot of material. And I think you just got to adapt to what your learning abilities, like you said. Like, I mean, I'm auditory, so now I listen to the audiobooks while I'm driving, while I am, I don't know, showering, getting my hair done or getting ready. I try to multitask and get everything done now, but in a mindful way and in a more joyful way, and it's more peaceful, and I don't feel stressed out like, oh, I got all these things to do. No, like I try to just get everything organized, write it down in my agenda or my planner, and just get all those tasks down and, over with like the whole day. And that way I don't have to worry about that the next day. Like
so just having a simple little checklist or to-do list or a list of goals. And I do find that because I certainly have been guilty of being overwhelmed because I've always had at least 3 jobs, sometimes 4, and it's very difficult if you're not constantly on top of everything to get overwhelmed. And now when that feeling starts to come upon me, I just focus on the fact that, well, I am doing something that's moving me in the direction of where I'm trying to go. And there's no point in me if I'm hurrying through this one thing that I need to do right now. I'm going to make mistakes and I'm not going to do it as well as I normally would, and I'm not going to enjoy it. So just be fully present here in what I'm doing and then go on to the next task. And sometimes I'll just have to jot something down so that I don't forget it. But then I just enjoy every single thing that I'm doing, whether I'm making good food, like the anti-candida cookies or my coconut kefir, which my health is very important to me, and my diet is extremely important. And you know as well as I do, it takes time.
It does take time, investment, and energy.
Yes.
You got to be all in order to...
in it to win it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our motto. We're in this to win it. And my other motto is to do it well or not at all. And that's in a part of the course.
Right.
Is that if you're going to do it, it's worth doing well.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to do a good job at it, then just don't do it. It's pointless to get in and do this, I'm just going to try to do it. And people who say they're going to try never
usually
they fail.
Right,
They
exactly.
actually are
that word
trying
try
to fail.
is not even part of my vocabulary anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We just do it. And have fun doing it, and the sense of humor. You have a lot more of a sense of humor now, right?
Yes, with myself, with my stupidity, with all the time I've wasted. It's like, no, I gotta just laugh it off and just realize how silly I was being.
And move on. And I think that was the secret with me, is just making you laugh at yourself.
Definitely. I think that helped me realize a lot of things about myself that I needed to change. But I realized that I never loved myself, but I kept attracting the same kind of guy that didn't even love themselves. And even if I let that guy go, I would still keep attracting the same type of guy. And it's interesting because I realized that they were being like a mirror to me, reflecting that lack of self-love that I never had. So once I let them go, and I actually started working on that, like on my own, and consciously, yes, and filling in that empty void that no one else could ever fill. I feel so much better now. Like, I feel happy, and I don't even seek a guy now that, has that same sort of, energetic, low vibrational energy that I used to have. It's like, no, now I have very high standards, and I'm gonna, wait for the right guy that has the same sort of energy that I do now. So,
and what's interesting, you just came back from spring break at Puerto Vallarta,
yes,
and you were definitely tested, right?
I was definitely tested in Puerto Vallarta, yes. Well, I was over there, I have some friends over there that I had previously made, because I've been to Puerto Vallarta twice now. And I was hanging out with one of them, but it was just so interesting because I didn't even want to be hanging out with him when I realized, oh my gosh, that was the same sort of energy that I had before. So I just wanted to be by myself. I didn't even want to be with this guy. I felt kind of bad. I was being polite and, nice. But as soon as I left, I'm like, no. I can't, be with my friends that I've had previously made. And I was by myself most of the time. But another interesting thing that happened to me was that while I was at the airport, my IM just told me, research a place, a holistic place. And I did. And when I landed in Puerto Vallarta, I was greeted by the holistic doctors there. And it was just such an amazing experience because I felt right at home, and I felt like I was talking to people that I could relate with, and what you had taught me, Dr. Grant, like all the things that health-wise, what we have been through and talking and discussing, it was the same with them.
Much better prices
yes,
there.
Much better prices. The deals were unbelievable.
Right?
And they were just so genuine and so loving. I felt like I was part of the family there. And that's when I told the lady, oh my God, I felt like, my I am, my
your
intuition.
I am is your higher self.
Yeah, my higher self, just brought me here. And then she's like, well, she's like, you attract the same kind of people that, at the same vibrational level that you're at.
Wow.
So we both were just laughing, and I felt like I was talking to, an old friend. We just related on so many levels. And the books she was telling me to read, I was like, oh my God, I read that book. So, I knew that she was very knowledgeable in what she was talking about, and so was her husband, who was a doctor there.
And now you're moving on to a whole nother journey, not only of your own holistic healing, but now you're considering moving into that field.